Please find a place, settle down and sit comfortably, sitting with your back straight, your back, neck, and head in a straight line. Close your eyes gently and relax the expression on your face. Relax your shoulders. Relax your belly. As you breathe in, let the belly expand. As you breathe out, let the belly return back. Inhaling into the belly, let the belly expand. Exhaling, returning back. Keep your eyes closed and the expression on your face relaxed. Continue to breathe into the belly and breathing out of the belly. We're going to begin by chanting Om 3 times and then the opening prayers, Sahana Vavatu. Sitting in any comfortable posture with your back straight, back, neck, and head in a straight line. Eyes are closed gently and the expression on the face is relaxed. Relax your shoulders. Relax your belly. Becoming aware of the belly as you inhale, letting the belly expand. As you exhale, simply let go. Let go. Let go. Bring your palms together at the heart center in Namaskar Mudra. Pressing your palms together gently, touching your fingers together gently, and gently touching the back of the thumbs into the chest. Bring your attention to the hollow space between the palms. Keep your attention right here. We're going to chant Om 3 times and then the opening prayer, Sahana Vavatu. Exhale completely. Take a deep breath. Inhale. 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 Inhale and chant. Sahana Vavatu, Sahanau Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Now, rub your palms together to generate some heat and then blinking, cup your eyes to transfer that heat and then blinking, open your eyes and pull your palms back like an open book. Namaskar. Namaskar. Today is a presentation session, not as much a meditation session, but I'd still like to know if you can see me and hear me. So I would appreciate if some people could, someone could unmute themselves and tell me if you can see me and hear me.
Yeah, we could see you, Gorakhji.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. This is just a fun experimental thing that I'm doing, which is to make sure that we are load on top. All right. We are watching a presentation and you're able to watch my video as well. Today's topic is an interesting topic and one whose time has come really, which is stress and the new normal. The new normal has been talked about quite frequently since we've switched over to COVID-19 and everyone's sitting at home. I myself wake up every day and I sit right here. This is my work desk and this is my meditation session, meditation room and my yoga room all combined in one single place. And what's happening right now is really a lot of video calls on Zoom and a lot of doom outside. You look out the window and all you see is doom, chaos, all sorts of ways the world is about to come to an end. And here you are sitting in the workroom, getting increasingly burnt out, getting increasingly disconnected, and getting increasingly not really enjoying this experience. So I thought today's conversation really should be about understanding how how to approach this new world of Zoom doom in the workroom as a yogi. Because, of course, who knows more about sitting inside a room when the world outside is breaking down in chaos, except yogis do. Yogis, that's always been our thing. So that's what we're going to talk about. I have a presentation that we're making, and I will just be talking you through this whole session. Now, I'm going to back and go all the way back to my own educational background, which is I'm an engineer. And in engineering, the first year is really a lot of physics experimentations because the first year is really a recap of the work you should have done in high school but didn't. And so my favorite memory, one of my memories of that time is running this experiment in this tensile stress lab where you have a metal wire and you start putting weights on the bottom, weights on the bottom, weights on the bottom. And you keep adding weights until the metal begins to flow and eventually break. And that's where I learned the idea, the concept of stress. It really comes from physics experimentations. The word stress itself, tension, stress, and strain all come from physics. And especially my undergrad as a mechanical engineer, you had to worry a lot about this cable, for example, over here. How much tension can it hold? How much strain can it hold? And what is the response of stress on this particular metal? And the way our science experiments ran at the time, you keep adding weight, you keep adding weight, you keep adding weight, and it has a linear profile, and then it begins to flow, and then it breaks off. And so that's the language of physics. Stress itself is a word that originated in physics because people were concerned about ropes, wires, and all sorts of dangling objects and how much tension they can hold. 1936. And in all this while, in the last 200 years or so, maybe 400 years, the language of science has seeped around into other sciences, from physics to biology and biology to popular culture, or biology to physics, or biology to physics to economics. There's been a lot of lending from science in very different fields. And this word leapt from physics to biology. And in 1936, a doctor figured out that the same phenomenon of pressure, tension being placed on an individual is likely to lead to linear increases in performance and then a sudden catastrophic decline in performance. So some amount of stress is good until a point, and then catastrophic decline, and it breaks down. And so from that point on, not so long ago, maybe 80 years ago, this word has crept into biology and, of course, popular culture. And now, of course, all of us are stressed out, even though we're not being hung from metal rods and weights added to our feet. So stress is really a word that comes from elsewhere, but now we've understood it, we've made it our own. And in biology, in this context, stress is a physical, mental, or emotional factor. This is, hectic Googling can give you that answer yourself. But it's the result of those factors, right? Or it's a factor that causes tension, that causes strain. So stress is the stressor that causes tension, that causes strain. And then stresses can be all manner of external or internal objects. External objects could be you're sitting uncomfortably in a train, or you're sitting in a bus and it's shaking widely. Those could be environmental, or they could be psychological, like external objects. Somebody else is bothering you, and so on. Or social. You're not upwardly mobile like you used to be. Or these could be internal, within the body, embodied, and therefore caused by internal stresses, which might be poor digestion, poor sleep, some sort of medical condition. All of these are stressors. And these, the interesting part that you need to take down is why we're here today. Why me with my yogi clothes is talking about work stress. And it is the following, which is stress can initiate the fight or flight response, which is a complex reaction of neurological and endocrinological systems. Now, that's mumbo jumbo from biology. What it means simply is it makes you pick between fight or flight instead of your rest and digest. Now, that's the domain of yogis. This is why you should talk to a yogi, because yogis understand this language. We've had this language in great detail and nuance from before scientists were figuring out how to add metal weights to my feet, which is simply, we think of this as cooling and warming. Yamuna and Ganga, for example, rivers. If you go to the source of those rivers, the source of the river Yamuna is actually a hot water spring that mixes with glacial water. So Yamuna is a warm river in that sense, and Ganga is a cold river from Gangotri. And within the body, we have the same nadis or rivers or channels. We call them Ida and Pingala. Ida is cooling, and Pingala is warming, heating. Ida is inbound, makes us rest and digest. Pingala is outbound. These are things the yogis know really well and know how to manipulate and balance those really well. And that's what I'm going to talk about a little today. In all my other talks, I talk about meditation. This talk is really about how you can bring your body back in balance, because those stressors are pulling us apart. And we now need to bring ourselves back into balance. Now, this is an interactive session, and the way you can interact is you can, I think, send me a text right here on the chat window, but otherwise you can unmute yourself and speak up, and I will answer questions as we go along. Now, here's the thing. From a yogi's perspective, there are a few things you need to know. Doctors and your friendly neighborhood drug dealer will give you two types of drugs. Doctors prescribe these types of drugs all the time. If you've taken those medicines, then you already know there are uppers and downers. An upper is something that perks you up, and a downer is something that cools you or calms you down. And some cocktail of those is what doctors prescribe, because of course they like to give away medicines. It's how how the medical system makes money. Maybe not the individual doctor, but prescribing medicines is a popular way of spending money and making money. So uppers and downers are like the accelerator and brakes. And what happens is, if you're feeling down, they'll prescribe you an upper, but then you're going to be hyper or manic, then they're going to give you a downer, because then they want to calm you down. And then, of course, you'll go too far down. You'll be, laid out in your bed, and you won't want to come out. Then they'll give you another upper. And that's how this weird, vicious cocktail of medicines work. But Ida and Pingala, those brake and accelerator, work all the time in your body. And as a yogi and as someone who needs to learn to practice meditation, these are essential moving parts of your own internal system that you should be able to work yourself. How to lower your stress response, how to increase and come out of your stupor, both of those things. So yogis know a few things about uppers and downers naturally within the body and in a dynamic state of balance. Asana, pranayam, and dhyana. I added the extra A, but I should not have. But anyway, asana, posture. When you're sitting, you're already in a bad situation. If you're slouching on your computer all day, you're going to be in a really bad mood, and then you're going to have aches and pains. Pranayam, breath is how you communicate with your subconscious. So learning pranayam and actually being able to practice it daily. And I teach it from here every week. So you should go back and look up some of my YouTube sessions. Being able to learn how to meditate, being able to learn to breathe properly, and being able to bring your breath into dynamic balance. And then dhyana, meditation itself. Some more stuff. The yogic system recognizes three moods or three modes. Those are rajas, tamas, and sattva. I'm going to come to the new normal in the next slide. Rajas is outbound energy. It's the will to do things. It's the will to move. It is outbound. It it brings you the ability to move. So accelerator, think of that. Tamas is inertia. It forces you to just lump and lie down, and ignorance is to follow. Sattva is clarity, lucidity, and that happens when, and these are three independent states, but they can intermix and intermingle. Now, these states, you have to be able to recognize your state and move from one to the another to the other, and know the tools of your body and your system that can help you move from one to the other. Now, the way the modern world is, and that's the next slide really, but remember Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva when I move to the next slide. Now, the result of all this is you're going to get burnt out, and behind my photo over here, behind my video, you're going to see a mind map with all the symptoms of a burnout. And the new normal, sitting in front of a Zoom video all day, is going to lead to this situation where you're filled with chronic fatigue, insomnia, forgetfulness, concentration is poor, attention span. Sorry, what were you saying? Attention span is short. Your body begins to sort of show physical symptoms, psychosomatic pain, centered pain. It's now within the body. Increased illnesses because your immune system is working poorly, loss of appetite because your stomach is not able to communicate to your big fat brain that it's hungry or not hungry. Anxiety because your wishes, your thoughts are now running like turkeys around each other. So anxious anxieties, depression might result, or even accelerated anger because the only mood you know is anger. That's the reason I wanted to talk about rajas and tamas. Stupor, inertia, being able to being dulled into inaction is the defining state of the modern system, especially this year in the 2020s. Why? Because you're sitting at home, you're forced to sit at home. Outside your window, the world is coming apart. And so you've learned to be in this state of inaction, inertness, tamas. And the interesting thing is, we feel just the way it is with sugar spikes, if you've had sugar spikes, we feel that a certain bit of spike is going to wake us out of this tamas. And what are those spikes? You're going to see in the next few slides. Those spikes are bouts of anger, bouts of irritation, and then chasing that anger and irritation habitually. You will see that you're actually hurting yourself immensely with a lifestyle that most of us have created, which is scrolling for bad news, scrolling and consuming more and more bad news, because bad news, anger, and outrage is the only way we can feel a little bit of activity and come out of our tamas. But the net result of this spurt of activity is exactly the opposite. It's just like your coffee or your sugar rush. Your sugar rush is your sugar is absorbed, glucose goes into the bloodstream, glucose, lots of excitement, and then immediately your liver starts working and immediately a crash. If you don't have diabetes, you're going to have a crash. And the result of the crash is lower than where you were before you had the sugar. Plus, your body is used to, hey, at 10 o'clock, this guy has coffee with, lots of sugar. I'm going to proactively start reducing the glucose content because I'm going to make room for this spike. So your body now becomes duller and duller and duller as a result of a habit. And habits are samskara, which is the next word a yogi, the toolkit has. So you see, when you're looking at modern workplace stress, a yogi's response is probably the most complete response that you could think about. Doctors, they may be psychologists, may have one perspective, they might be other medical doctors, they may have other perspective, but a yogi's perspective is one who's understood how the inner mechanism works and is able to guide you accordingly. Let's talk about the modern world now. Again, this is not to dissuade you from going to your doctor, please go to a doctor. See a doctor if you're having sleeplessness or anything else. I'm just telling you that the systems of how the body works are known more to a yogi than to somebody else. All right. Now, here's a sneak preview of what you're about to expect. But first, let's look at our everyday life. This is you in your night clothes, sitting in front of a camera, very stressed out, with your phone, your coffee, and your cat, everything in one place. Frankly, this sort of describes my workplace, even right behind me as we speak. This is your everyday life now. Why? Because you don't have an office to go to. You're working from home. And you've got into this habit. You're now simply um, uh, used to this sort of habitual situation. There are five things I will talk to you about. One is rhythm. Two is outrage, which I've already talked about a little. Three is connection. Four is training. What is the fifth thing? The fifth thing is bringing it all together, right? So let's try to figure out how to adjust our lifestyle to the new normal. All right. Okay. First things first. Rhythm. There was a song in the 80s. Rhythm is going to get you. Now, what rhythm are we talking about? The rhythm of high and low, high, low, 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 low. Every day, your schedule was like a rhythm. You woke up, you got up out of bed, you got ready for office, you had your breakfast, you rushed out, you drove for 15 minutes to an hour, or you took some sort of you commuted to work, and then you went to office, you met your colleagues, you did one meeting, another meeting, coffee, another meeting, lunch, another meeting, coffee, another meeting, and then you drove back, and then you took a break, and then probably get back on calls. So you had a schedule which had a rhythm, and that rhythm involved doing different textures, different textures. Driving, which is a buffer from being at home to being at office. Coffee, which is a break between one work session and another. Popping into your colleagues, which is a break from a high stress meeting that you're about to get into. Rhythm. Everyone had a work rhythm. Now, here's the funny thing, the modern workplace is already deprived of work rhythm. About 15 years ago, I reviewed this, my own blog post from about 15 years ago, that the modern workplace does not have a rhythm. Most work previously could have a rhythm, and which is why you have the oars hitting the water, and the songs that oarsmen would sing, people with boats might sing, or the train. The train has a rhythm, so a driver might have a particular rhythm in which they would sing. And singing, in sharing, there's a lot of rhythm that workplaces had previously. But modern workplaces are chaotic and don't have rhythm. But in the last 15 years, iPods have been invented. We all carry music, and we all have earphones or headphones to insulate ourselves from the world around and give us a new rhythm of typing, typing, texting, typing. But sitting at home, there's no rhythm. There's no rhythm to your life. The only rhythm you have in your life is you get out of bed, you get to your workroom, you're at work. Congratulations. And then for the next 12 hours, 8 hours, 9 hours, you're doing Zoom video conferences all day with no break, no texture. And so you're staring at a screen, forced to sit like a chicken in a coop. Is there a comment? Someone saying something online? No. All right. So your work, your modern life has your, especially post-COVID life, sitting at home, no rhythm. There is no texture. There is no break. And what happens is, if you don't have a break, you're not able to, you're oversaturated. Your response to stimuli has flattened out, right? Previously, you could go up and down, and your response to stimuli was sharp. You were able to get in and out of things and pay maximum attention to something because you could get in and out of things. Now you don't get in and out of things. You don't have a rhythm. And because you don't have a rhythm, did my video break? Give me a second. I'm going to fix my video situation. All right, we're back in business. Checking with people online. Can you see my video and hear me? Affirmative?
Yes, we can do.
Wonderful.
Yes, we could hear you.
Thank you. Great. All right. So the first problem that we're having in the workplace is we don't have a rhythm, and because we don't have a rhythm, our problem is that we don't catch a break, and we're not able to buffer ourselves. This physical body in Mrityalok, in this world of death, is designed for saturation. Everything is designed for saturation. You have one rasagolla, one sweet candy, great. Two sweet candies, maybe twice as good. Five sweet candies, not five times as good. And 50 sweet candies, you're already dead, right? So the problem with this particular life form and every life form in this physical world is that it's designed to saturate. And if you are not able to get in and out, you've saturated half an hour into your workday, you don't have anything to give. You have nothing that allows you to re-engage with yourself and your colleagues. And so the first thing you need to think about is to layer and texture your day. Build rhythm into your workday. Very important. Because if you don't build rhythm into your workday, then you're going to have a very poor response. In a different presentation, I've talked about that. I can cover it later. But having a rhythm is important. Now, in the Hindu tradition, the rhythm is very simple. You have rituals of the day. Most other traditions, in Islam, you pray 5 times a day. Other traditions have other rituals. Follow your rituals. Rituals are a great way of segmenting your day. Morning, you wake up, you do a meditation. Middle of the day, you can do another meditation at noon. Evening, do another meditation. You've built in breaks. You can do prayers. You can go for walks. You have to force yourself to walk away from the screen and texture yourself, because only then will your saturation recede and you have something new to give to your work. So first thing we discussed is rhythm. Let's go to the next thing. All right. The next thing is, first we float on top. Great. Outrage hacking. Outrage hacking is an interesting and very, very interesting thing. And it's one of the most dangerous things that is happening right now. It's not new. Humans are prone to outrage by design. Why? Because if you know that there's a lion chasing you and your friend just told you that, you better start running. So responding to bad news is absolutely okay, because that's how you keep yourself safe and that's how you propagate yourself over future generations. But this machine can be hacked. And right now, what you're seeing is machines and machinations designed for outrage hacking. What you're seeing outside in the world around us is a amazing mixture of machines and machinations designed for outrage. As you sit at home, prevented from going outside, you're looking at the news. And what is the news after all? The news is COVID is coming to get you. The news is protesters are coming and get you. The news is the stock market is up today, tomorrow it's going to fall down and come and get you. The news is designed to make you angry and frustrated. Protests. This guy said something and they're fighting this other guy on the TV, everyone's mad, and you're tuning into it and you're consuming more and more and more of that content. And that's where machines and algorithms fit in. The number of people who've been radicalized into radical extremism, which religion, by YouTube is non-trivial. It's a large number of people that have essentially indoctrinated themselves by watching one video video on YouTube, and then YouTube algorithms realizing that, hey, this guy watched this one video, let me serve him another. You watch something more, let me serve him another, more and more and more extreme ideologies. And eventually you're outraged out of your mind. It's the same with machinations. You look at all a lot of the protests and a lot of the media and political environment that's going on. It is designed to give you outrage. Why? Because just like the image below mine image, you respond to red, you respond to anger, you respond better to fear and anger than you do to positive stimuli, to love or friendship. And they want a response. So the political environment is designed to outrage us, right? It's designed to make us feel that the world is ending unless we act now. And machines, algorithms have weaponized it to the extent that it's very hard to compete with algorithms. They know exactly what we like, and they're going to find more and more worse and worse content. Remember, I talked to you about saturation. So suppose we have 1 unit of outrage. We have an outrage sandwich for breakfast. But next day, one sandwich is not enough. You're going to have 2 outrage sandwiches to have the same response. Why? Because I told you about saturation. So now you need double the outrage. Then you're going to have 5 times the outrage, 20 times the outrage. It's not enough to see one dead body. You're going to show you 20 dead bodies with gore and blood. You see what's happening with Netflix videos. You see what's happening in the news. It's designed to outrage you out of your mind. And the underlying beat to that is Pingala, 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 Pingala. What is that? Pingala is the fight or flight reflex, autonomous nervous system. It's the, like I tell you, Gemini, right? The warming or heating part of the system. We have 2 autonomous systems in the body. As a yogi, I'm telling you. Autonomous because they work on their own. You consciously cannot direct them. But as a yogi, you can learn practices to bring them into dynamic balance. Usually, fight or flight, rest and digest. So you have a heavy meal, you want to go to sleep. You have a lion chasing you, you don't want to eat, you want to run. Those are the things that the body works with. But what's happening now is no rest and digest. So no procreation, no digestion, no long-term body management, simply anger, anger, anger. So the heart is beating hard. Why? Because it wants to send the blood to the arms because it thinks a lion is chasing you. That's the same underlying reflex. So all you're doing is through this outrage hacking of your own self is you're now overemphasizing the accelerator, not emphasizing the brake enough. What's a good way of breaking that? There's a few ways. One, you have to build in meditation breaks, not crazy Western mindfulness nonsense, but go to a regular yogi, go to some of our sessions we do every day, go to a yogi who understands what's being talked about and understand meditation properly. Learn to meditate. It doesn't take long, 20 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever time you have. Learn to reset your body. You have an excess of one over the other, reset. Not reset down to zero, but reset to the optimal level. That's what you want to do. You want to learn to meditate. 2, enough with the bad news outrage. Stop paying attention to all that outrage hacking. It's not good. It's not working out for you. It truly isn't. You have to train yourself to watch the good news. And what is good news? What could be better news than paying attention to your religion? If you're, whatever your religion, if you're Hindu, go to a temple. There are so many beautiful gods with beautiful stories, great, wonderful, uplifting stories. Kirtan, bhajan. I'm from a Hindu tradition. That's what I'll tell you. But if you're from any other religion, go to your religion. You don't need to come to mine. But the important thing is tune into the good news. The good news is the world is actually in many ways getting better than previously. The good news is, like this said, it's not news when a dog eats man. It's only news when man eats dog. Weird stuff is news. But the not so weird stuff is not news. It's happening all the time. Good stuff is happening. So learn to focus in on the good news. Pay attention to your own religion. Listen to good stories and feel good about them. Don't get used to outrage hacking your own self because you're not doing yourself any favor. All right, let's get to the next one. The next one is connection. What do you mean by connection? Okay, connection is where this body previously belonged to other kinds of apes. This body used to belong to other apes. Apes are social species. Humans are a very, very social species. And when social species spend a lot of time taking out ticks from each other's bodies and eating them, grooming each other. They keep very strict record of who's groomed whom, who's been nice to whom, who's shown teeth to whom. All of those things monkeys are very, very aware of. Humans are aware of those things ourselves. We pay attention to a lot of this stuff. And I'm guilty of this myself. I'm very business-like. I did an engineering. I did India's #1 MBA program. So obviously, I'm designed for optimization. The problem with optimization is it doesn't have any time to do this stuff, which is grooming each other, spending time with each other, picking nits, helping each other, being nice to each other, paying attention to how the other person feels. That doesn't lend itself to optimization, and neither does today's workplace. Because on a screen, you don't know what I'm really feeling. You don't know how you haven't, we have, this is misspelled, it should be embodied intelligences. We embody, our entire body feels. It's not just our head or our heart. Our entire body feels the other person. You can feel a presence. When you feel nice in presence of someone, you feel it viscerally in your body. That we don't have the ability to do that on the screen. We have only visual cues, and there's a time lag and audio clues. It's not really effective. So it reduces our humanity. It reduces the amount of engagement we have with each other as a human being. And being social is a core part of our buildup. We're a social species. There's no confusion about it. And because our intelligence is embodied, because we're unable to express that part of our intelligence, we feel the lack of that connection. That lack of connection reduces the amount of joy we feel. On video with group calls, you don't have time for banter. You don't have time for jokes or talking about the weather or whatever nonsense, sports or whatever. You have no time to exchange pleasantries with each other. And so there isn't any time to engage with each other, no grooming. Monkeys spend between 33 to 45% of their time grooming each other. And that reduces their stress. If a monkey does not groom or is not groomed, it's a very stressed monkey. It's the same with us. If we don't engage with other humans, we're not going to be very happy. We're very stressed out. And our ability to intuitively engage with each other is hampered because of this poor medium of a computer screen. And therefore, there is a resultant harshness in life's experiences. There is a clear and obvious lack of joy or ananda, as the yogis say. And this harshness plays into everything else because now you're coming with a big chip on your shoulder. You're not happy, and there's no one you can talk about. And this lack of connection is reducing our own humanity and our own connection to our own selves. So what's the antidote for that is to go out and talk to people. You can't shake people's hands. You can't hug people because, of course, social distancing. But you can engage with people. You can wave to people. Go out and people watch. One of the greatest joys of slower lives is you can sit at the town square and just watch people go by, and that's relaxing. Oddly, go watch people. Go outside, take a break, and engage with people. And somehow, even on work calls, try to joke, try to engage with people in a way that allows you to reveal your humanity and not just treat each other as a machine with work to do. So that's the third thing, which is harshness. And the fourth are these, my favorite Japanese monkeys. They're great. Now, train your mind. The problem that I've hopefully explained to you so far is we have hacked ourselves into unhappiness. We have trained our mind to be distracted. We have trained our mind to not pay attention to beauty because we're all work, work, work. And we have trained our mind to be out of rhythm, not appreciate art. We just work, work, work. And just the way you've trained yourself into um, this mechanical paradise of no music, no art, no beauty, just the way you walked into this trap, you can walk yourself right out of this trap. And just like this friendly monkey over here, you can train your mind back to focus on beauty. Why? How can you do that? By once again taking breaks in your workday and listening to music. Not just listening to music, but listen to soulful, harmonious music. Don't just listen to music, sing alongside, because when you sing, you breathe slowly. When you breathe slowly, your heart knows that it's okay, and the rest of the body realizes that you relax, and you have a relaxation response going through the body. Don't just sing a harmonious song, dance, feel it inside. And a good way older cultures did this was through kirtans, was through bhajans. I talk to people all the time, and I live in the West. I'm as hyper educated as you can be from my country, and so people assume that I will have nothing to do with it, and they feel odd that I'm telling them to go to a temple, participate in a kirtan. They think it sounds um, um, weirdly antique or out of fashion. Fashion has nothing to do with it. It works. It works. You should try it, but you can't just go and listen to it. Sure, you can listen to it and you get maybe 2 units of joy out of it, but go out and sing and dance. And if you have tears of joy coming out, so much the better. Because when you have those tears of joy, your heart lightens up. And when your heart lightens up, everything lightens up. So listening to Kirtan, participating in it is a great way of doing it. And you may not, what if you're atheistic? It's not a problem. What if you don't believe in my God you want to have, and your tradition does not have Kirtan? No problem. Sing to something else. Sing to whatever you want to sing to. Sing to whatever your heart wants to sing. But something that inspires you is better. Pay attention to art. Look for things of beauty. Just try to distract yourself with something joyous and have fun. Because when you're having fun, that fun doesn't just stay in one aspect of your life, that fun overflows into the rest of your life. And finally, the fifth item I was talking about, and the last item on this screen, is simply this: rules are much, much, much greater than willpower. What does that mean? Now, I'm vegetarian. And when I go for lunch with friends, they ask what I'd like to have. And the more choices you have, the more willpower you have to engage, because you have to say, oh no, I want this, but I also want that. And I think I also want that. I have too many choices. And now I'm using my willpower to make that decision. Scientists are saying there's only a certain amount of willpower that you have at any given point of time. And if you use it, you have no more willpower left for that particular moment. And so you don't want to use willpower. In my case, because I'm vegetarian, I eliminated so many of those choices right away. I don't have non-veg. Automatically, my choices are better. It's not a choice I'm making, it's just a rule. Same with me, I'm a teetotaler. I go to parties. I used to be, I advise sales team, I'm in sales. So people assume I drink. I go to parties, I don't drink. And it's not a choice that I'm making. I just don't drink. It's just who I am. Now, what does that mean? Rules that you make for yourself are superior by a wide margin to your use of willpower. You cannot trust your willpower. Why? Because you're weak. But you can make rules and stick by those rules. And in the older traditions, those rules were very interesting. For example, in the Hindu tradition, one of the rules is you have to bathe early in the morning and do your puja. Isn't that great? Once you have a rule, there's no choice. You have to get out of your bed, bathe early in the morning, and do your puja. And when you're done with your puja, you're done. You've already covered a good chunk of what everybody else is spending their time procrastinating and regretting, and in already ahead of time. So it's called anticipated regret. Things you don't, things you anticipate not doing, you're regretting not doing the things you're not going to do. right? Anticipated regret is a big thing in sales psychology, by the way, but keep that aside. The point is, don't leave room for regret. Make rules and stick by those rules. Make firm decisions and say, this is it. And amazingly, you can train your mind to do so many things by making rules that work for you. So let's recap. I'm going to recap. Stress is a normal part of the workday. Stress is an internal or external stimulus that is causing us tension, which is causing strain, and the body responds to it in adverse ways. How does the body respond? By pressing the accelerator of the brake. Usually, a lot of accelerator and a lot of braking. A lot of accelerator, a lot of braking, which is why you see those hard charging lifestyles. People who work hard, play hard, die hard, right? And that's the thing, which is they've got used to this stressful life. So stress is common. It is neither new and nor should it be normalized, which is right here. So stress is neither new and nor normal. Stress is built into the human psyche, the human physical makeup, and human spirituality, and and so it's not new, and it's not normal. You should not be stressed because under stress you always make the wrong decisions. You have lower volumes of willpower, you have lower energy, and you have a lower ability to influence other people and choices. So in general, you don't want the new normal to affect you. Is there a question on the bridge? All right, good. Okay, so there's some chat going on, but I'm going to mute whoever is the wind noise. Okay, you can unmute yourself. Sorry. All right. So the new normal is neither new nor more normal. Hold on one second. I'm going to have to. Okay, great. I got that. Okay, the new normal is neither new nor normal, and you shouldn't get used to it. The second thing is the next set of things that we discussed today are this, which is yoga has a lot to say on this topic. And we talked about rhythm. Build a rhythm for yourself. Even though you're working from home, give yourself breaks and buffers. Don't just overschedule yourself. Just because you're, say, working from home, don't give into the guilt that, hey, I may not be working enough. Let me just overclock. You can't overclock. Your brain's not going to handle it. So give yourself breaks. Breaks are how you get back to work. Next is outrage hacking. Be aware that machines and political machinations, everyone's trying to outrage you into stupor. Don't give in to the outrage. Give yourself breaks. Learn to meditate, learn to focus on the good news, learn to have a spiritual practice that will allow you to not be outraged all the time. It's not good. Connection. Remember that we were monkeys previously, and therefore find the way to connect to your fellow colleagues, your people at home, people on the street. You can't touch them, but certainly you can touch them with your heart. And then train your mind. You can train out of distraction. You can keep track. You can focus in on beauty. You can train on art and things that make your heart flow. And finally, accept a set of rules that will allow you to not use your willpower on nonsense items. You go to the coffee shop and they want to know what coffee you want or what bread you want and whether you want it white or wheat, or do you want butter or not, or do you want decaf milk or 2% milk. Too many choices. You've already, by the time you've ordered one cup of coffee, you've used all your willpower reserves for the day. Don't do it. Just say, this is the coffee I have all the time. It doesn't make any difference. And that's it. You saved your willpower. Go use it on something useful. And that's the talk. That's all my talk today. Now I'm going to pause and see if you have any questions for me. You can unmute yourself, please. Questions or comments? And I'm going to start reading our chat comments from over here. So Anandji is saying that stress is contributed to by a lot of the negative news on COVID, which is that we are told that COVID cases are now 500,000 and people are dying, dead bodies on the streets, all sorts of stuff, right? But as Anandji says himself, the death rate is very low. It's not that high. Even if someone has COVID, odds are that they're going to live. So you should worry, but you shouldn't over worry. It's not going to kill you for the most part. So that's just COVID. But it's the same with everything else. Everything is just designed to outrage you and get you angry and frustrated. But there's no need to. Until something happens immediately to you, you don't need to give in to all that fear mongering. It doesn't help anyone. Plus, the more fear you have, the more at risk of infection you are, because your immune system, because it's linked to your inner system, like a yogi would tell you, your immune system, because you're outraged and angry and fearful and sleepless and hungry all the time, of course your immune system is going to be weak. So you're not helping by being fearful. It only makes it worse. All right. Other questions or comments?
Gauravji, I think
Yeah,
very informative. Thank you so much.
sure.
I just wanted to, when I was reading a newspaper about Amitabh Bachchan article on his quarantine, right? I mean, he's been hospitalized. When I was reading, basically depression crept into me. The fact that he said that, he didn't really see human beings, even the doctors in their
Yeah,
PPEs, right? He couldn't recognize the faces and whatnot. Has literally, had me shivering. When a
yeah,
personality like him going through that and mentioning it, and just imagine what the common man would have gone through those 14 days of ordeal.
yeah. It's the more we think. Thank you, Anandji. The more we think about it, the worse it feels. And these PPE images of doctors in spacesuits with all vacuum cleaned hospital beds and distance and never going to see your family again. All of those things are terrifying. And because we're an empathetic species, you hear about Amitabh Bachchan and you feel it here in your heart as if it's happening to you or someone you love, because of course you love Amitabh Bachchan. But more importantly, you feel it as empathetically because that's who we are as a species. We're an empathetic social species. So if it's happening to somebody else, it hurts us. That's good. That's a good sign of being human. But overexposure to that news is not helpful. And I agree, it's very dehumanizing. Just thinking about people in those PPEs and walking around and no connection and tubes and machines, it's not a good scene. It does not make for a good look at all. Thank you. Other questions or comments?
Hi, Gauravji. This is Ashish.
Sure.
I had a question. In the good old days when we used to take our cars, go to office, and come back, that those commute were disturbing because you're in the traffic. But they did provide a nice demarcation or a nice buffer, if you call, between our working life and home life. And nowadays, those demarcations are gone, and in that process you feel like you are always carrying that burden. Anything you suggest we do to artificially create those buffers?
Yeah. Thank you, Ashishji. That's a great question and comment. I agree. I used to hate commutes. I mean, I commuted forever, and I would hate the commute with with my innards. But of course, we had coping mechanisms. I had podcasts, I had my kirtans. I would sing in my car, and those were great buffer. It was a good break from one setting to another. Uh, a good way to buffer your workday is to maintain a schedule. And for the times that you're in quotes commuting, go out for a walk and say, I'm commuting to my work. Just because your bedroom and your office are one door apart doesn't mean you can't walk out and go out walking. That's one. Two, when you take a coffee break, take a coffee break. Don't just have coffee at work and watch some screen and doom scroll. It's called doom scrolling when you're reading bad news one after another. Don't do that. You don't need to, right? Or take a break, do something else, laugh at something. That's another one. Another thing I've done, and I put out a yoga nidra recording. But if you know what yoga nidra is, you could do deep relaxation from any of the yoga sessions we do, 15 minutes, and you're able to completely relax and tune out of all the work stresses and back into your physical body. Yoga Nidra is a great thing for the evening when you're done with your work schedule. And the minute your calendar stops, close your machine, turn on your Yoga with Nidra recording if you have it, and then just go for 15 minutes, go for a walk inside. It's very therapeutic.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
This,
Yeah. If you need, I can send you a half-hour Yoga Nidra recording. It's somewhere
that'll be awesome.
on the internet.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I'll send it to you. Sure. Other questions or comments?
Yeah,
Hey,
I keep.
Gauraji,
Yeah. Go ahead.
okay, thank you. Gauraji, this is Saurabh. I was just thinking about this, the whole idea of expending your free will. Is it right to think that you are spending free will when you are trying to resist something? I mean, how about choices where you are actually happy making those choices, right? I mean, how about you go and you have a a buffet in front of you and you're actually happy that there are 10 dishes out there and you are happy with all of them, right? And you're actually excited about it.
Yeah. Back in Africa 205,000 years ago, you went to a tree and it had a red apple or a red tomato and a green tomato. You had a choice and you picked the one that was ripe. Having two or three items for choice is not a problem. There's a famous marketing book called The Paradox of Choice, which simply says that more choices is not always better. So there's the curve like this. Few choices, great. More choices, worse. So if you go to a store and you have 200 of the same type of items, you're paralyzed by those choices. And so a lot of good stores now, there's a lot of science to this. So Sheena Iyengar has a book on that. And now you don't want to be presented with too many choices, which is why people like to go to Costco over other stores. There's not too many choices. There's one or two of the same item and it's the good one. You take it, you're done. So choice is overrated. Choosing is overrated, and don't spend your choosing on random things. Frankly, when I go to a restaurant and they say, "What would you like to have?" I don't know what I'd like to have. So I usually my answer is, "What do people have over here that's vegetarian?" Or my other answer is, "What do I look like? I feel like having." And they'll look at me quizzically. They'll suggest a dish. I'll say, "All right, go bring it." Because what do I know which dish is better than the other? But the choosing fills me with regret about choices I didn't make. Why would I waste my energy on that sort of nonsense? Choosing is overrated. Some choosing is good, too much choosing is not good. So choose what you want to make choices on.
Yep, that makes sense.
Sure. But there was another question, a lady who was saying something. All right. If there are no questions, let's bring this session to a close. So please sit comfortably, sitting in any comfortable posture. We're going to chant Om 3 times and then the closing prayers, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. So sit in any comfortable posture with your back straight, back, neck, and head in a straight line. Close your eyes gently and relax the expression on your face. Bring your palms together in Namaskar Mudra, pressing your palms together gently, touching your fingers together gently, and gently touching the back of the thumbs into the chest. Breathe into the belly as then watch the belly expand. And now bring your attention into the hollow space between the palms. We're going to chant Om 3 times and then the closing prayers. Exhale completely, take a deep breath. Inhale. 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 Inhale and chant. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayah. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Take your hands back and grab your right wrist with your left hand and breathing in, stretch. Breathing out, bend forward in a deep sense of surrender. Come back up, breathing in, release your hands, rub your palms together to generate some heat, and then gently cup your eyeballs with your palms to transfer that heat, massaging the face and the neck. And then blinking, open your eyes and pull your palms back like an open book. Namaskar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your weekend. See you on some other session. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Gaurav.
you. Bye-bye. Good night.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. I'm just taking the Yoga Nidra email so I can send them stuff. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.